Kathyskutekreations. Today we're going to be doing 1 and 2 for the Topia. Here is number 1 we're going to work on first. And if you went ahead and you got your pattern and your fabric, you're going to notice that the fabric requirements, this is what they've done with them. They took your fabric, and on here it tells you the name of your fabric, and then it tells you which block it's going to be used for. And I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to put it closer on the other side. On the blue one and the sort of an orangish color, the very first two right there, I've got a circle around the number 1 because that color is going to be used in number 1. Now they don't have them all because I went ahead and I marked my paper, which this is what it looks like. Right here. And I've got little marks. The ones that have the marks on them are the ones that match with this piece of paper that shows you how to cut it. So apparently that's a specific way to get the most out of your fabric, and I guess by that you can get the rest of them. I mean, the white we know because we've got 6 yards of that, but maybe just this little bit needs to be used. But I always try to get as much as I can out of my fabric anyway. So I will go ahead and I'll iron all of my pieces up, and then I'm going to start cutting them up. All right, let's get started. Okay, so if you're following along, what I did was I took the, I'm going backwards here. I took this fabric that has the mark on it right here because it's on this paper. So when I look at this paper, it has number 1, number 6, number 7, and number 8. That is the block numbers it's going to need the fabric in. So number 1 is the first one to be cut, and you lay your fabric 18, which is the smaller side, by 20, which is the longer side. I went ahead and I trimmed it off, and let me show you how I trimmed it. So since there's not a squared up end, I went down here and I put my ruler along the white line which separates the fabric color from the bias, because the white is the bias. I put it on the, put my lines right along the edge, and then I cut off this end, which is the long end. Then I turned it, and now that the bottom was straight, I took my ruler, flipped it the other direction, put it on a line, and cut it. So now it's laying here in the correct direction, and all I need to do is cut. So the first thing that it's saying, every piece of fabric, I'm starting with the, as you know, the body of it, not the white outer part, or the inner part, the extra pieces. I call it the background, the white. So I'm using the butterfly units, which is what this is called, and each piece of these fabrics has to be cut a 2 by 4.5 inch rectangle. That's what number 1 is, and number 2 is a 1 3/4 by 4.5 inch. So the thing that I need to do is get 1 strip cut of all these pieces. Now let's say that you're new and you don't know, should you be cutting the length of this, should you be taking the width and making it the 4.5 amount, or should you be making it the 2 inch? Because you wouldn't want to go 1 inch because that's too small. Here's a rule of thumb for those that are new. I know this, all you pros out there are going to think this is stupid, but just bear with me here. All right, so you're looking at it, you know you got to have 3 pieces out of it. So you don't know, should you be going 4.5 like this and then cutting your strips? I would suggest, first off, you know it's not 1 inch, because then you'd have to cut it bigger for a 2 inch. So let's just pretend we got 2 inches here. All right, number 1, you need a 4.5 inch. You go to your ruler, you see 4.5 inches. So you've already went 2, now you're going to go 4.5. So you take your ruler, you go down here to the bottom, because you don't go all the way off the edge, just the bottom. Figure out here's 4.5, okay? Now it says you're going to need 2 pieces that are going to be 4.5. So you go over here and you say 4.5 and 4.5. Okay, I know for a fact I can get 3 pieces out, so now I need to just go over 2 inches and that's it. That's how you decide what to be cutting out of this fabric, so that you don't end up short. And they're already telling you to make it long to get it out the more lengthwise. So they're giving you that information. You just need to figure out how much you need to go widthwise. So we're going to go over 2 inches, and then we're going to cut a strip. And here's my 1, 2, 3, 4. So I lay it up there. I'm doing 2 inches, and you know me, I got to do it right on the line. And you want your fabric off of both ends of, you want your ruler off both ends of your fabric. And I go right on the line. And then I put my weight on it. And I go up, and it's on it, and down, and it's on it. Oh, I bumped it, so now it's off of it a little bit. And then we cut it. Now, since this is really easy with all of these directions, you automatically know that you can get away with all these fat quarters. There are 20 fat quarters to make this. And like I always say, you can pick and choose your block that you want to use. In other words, if you don't want to do all of this, and you just want to do maybe 10 of these blocks, then you've got it to do. All right, let me go ahead and get this subcut. I'm going to cut it from... I'm going to lay it from left to right. I already know that this is the straight of the grain. I don't need to be cutting anything off of it. I'm going to take my ruler. Now remember, this is 2 inches. I need one piece that's 2 inches. That's this way, by 4.5. So I'm going to go up 4.5. And I'm going to square it as I cut it. So I have my line is going on the fabric. And right here is the 4.5 mark. Let me get you a little closer so you can see. See it on the line right there. And all I'm going to do is cut it. Just put a little pressure on here. Cut that, and that is 1 strip. So there's my 2 by 4.5. Now it wants 2 of them that are 1 3/4 by 4.5. So first I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 of them 4.5. Make sure I'm in the camera. Okay. I want to cut 1. And the other one 4.5. And as I was saying, when the Fat Quarter Shop gives you a kit of fabrics, you're always going to have extra fabrics in case you make a boo-boo. Now that I have these 2 cut, I know that they need to be 1 3/4. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them. Lay this up here. This is my 1, and then right before the 2, there's a large mark, which is my 3/4, and I'm putting it on the line, just like before. That's squaring it up as I'm cutting it. So I have 1 3/4, and so I'm taking this little bit off. Line it up again here. Let me get off of that mark. There we go. And now every piece needs to be just like that for only the colored fabric. So go ahead, take all of yours, cut them all up, and we'll have our strips made. I've laid out my white fabric. Now it's a jumble because I took it and opened only one end so that I could lay it on my table to cut it. It wants one piece, 4.5 inch square. I went ahead and I squared up my fabric, and now I'm going to measure my 4.5 because it is the biggest piece. Everything else is 1 3/4 inch. So when I cut this, I'll take my 1 4.5 inch square, and then I will cut a strip that's 1 3/4 inch, and then I'll make squares out of it. So first I'm going to measure my 4.5 inches. Because I'm pretty sure we can use 4.5 inches somewhere else with this white. Okay. It's good and lined up. Here's our strip. Now while I have it here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut the 1 3/4 inch strip before I move it. Now while it's laying here, what I will do, for all the newbies here, let me take this is a 4-inch little ruler right here, and I'm going to measure. What I'm doing is I'm just estimating along this strip here, and I'm not going to do 1 3/4. I'm doing 2. This is just to get an idea. Okay, right there is 10, so that gives me 20 out of here. I need 32, so I know I need to make I need to cut another strip. So let's cut another one. This is strictly estimation for those that can't figure out how many strips do you need to cut, and you're scared you'll cut too many strips and waste your fabric. And the best time to cut your strips are when it's all laying out here before you've moved your fabric, because once you disturbed it, you're going to have to recut to get the straight edge on here. So I'm back at my 1 3/4, which is what the size has to be. There we go. Now I have 2 strips of that, and then I'll subcut it. Now before I picked up my white fabric, I wanted to make sure that I did not have to cut out another strip for the next square, which we're doing, called Bright Futures Variegation. Right here on the background, it says I'm going to need 4. That was a 4.5-inch strip. So I don't need to cut any more for the second block. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start on the second block, because each one of these is one block. It's called Bright Futures Variation. And here is where we're going to take our 4.5-inch strip and we're going to cut 4 8.5-inch rectangles. And let's see if we can get that out of there first. If we can't, we'll cut another strip. In the meantime, I put my strip on a bolt. I had a, well, it's, I guess you can call it a bolt. It actually had, what did it have on it? It's not a regular bolt. It's one of the flimsy bolts. It had some Pelland shape flex on it, but it's going to do its purpose. Alrighty, 8.5 for my length here. I'm squaring it up so it can all get done at the same time. And let's see how many I can get out of here. I can get 1. I might only be able to get 3. But that's okay. If I have to cut more, then I can. I'm sure it'll be used in this project. We're just starting with it. 2. Nope, looks like we might be able to get 4. Let's move that out of the way. 3, and 1 more. And 4. Okay. There we go. So we got those 4. Alright, so the next thing that it says, it's from the Bright Future units. And that's these next set of colors. So let me move this out of the way here. That's it for the white in the background. So now we're going to be doing these colors right here that I've chosen. This is the 4 we need. This yellow, green, black, and orange. Oops, I buried my green. There we go. These here. So let me go ahead and get them all ironed up, and then we're going to cut these out. Alrighty, we're going to do just like we did before. We're going to square it up. So I'll put your ruler down here at the bottom. Square it up on here, and then we're going to take this side off. Let me make sure your ruler's on both ends. I got my weight on it. There we go. Well, heavens to Betsy. There we go. Now we're going to cut 1 4.5 by 8.5 triangle. So we're going to make this a 4.5-inch strip. And we're going to do this with all 4 pieces of fabric. So 4.5. Probably should be looking on this sheet to see if that's what they decided to do with the fabric. Let me see if I've got block number 2, or is that just all one? I guess that's it. So let's just cut that. I guess I figured we knew what we were doing. And I go up and down with it for 4.5. Make sure it's on there. It is. Put my weight on here. And then cut it. And then we're going to do that to every single piece. Let's go ahead and subcut it to an 8.5 inch rectangle. Like this. Let's make sure looks good. 8.5. There we go. And there's our piece. Now just do it to all the other fabric. Now we're going to get out our triangle paper, and it says it wants 4 2x1 sections. So I'm going to guess this is 2 by, and that's 1 section. So we need 4 of them. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we can cut it with the rotary cutter. Which is right here. Or you can cut it with your scissors. But I'm going to cut it with this because I'm just about ready to change out my blade. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I will take the paper that it was wrapped around like that, and I just wrap it around here. And I will put probably a rubber band. Oh, actually I'll put a hair thing on it. Hold on 1 second. And there's just a little hair clip I put on it. So I know what it is in the drawer. That's it. Now, as you can see, I have put it all on the design board, excuse me, not the design wall. Here it is right here. This right here is the first block, and these 3 pieces are the second block. You can barely see that white on white. Let's take it over to the sewing machine and we'll begin. The very first thing it says is we're going to take all of these little B's, which are 32 1 3/4 inch squares, and we're going to mark across the back from diagonally from there to there on every single one of them. So let's do that first. All you got to do is take your pin. I put it at the tip and the tip down here, and then I mark it. That's it. We're going to mark every single one of them. Then when we're finished marking them, we'll come back and then we're going to start joining them. Now we're going to take our D fabric, which is the narrow strips, and on each one of them we are going to put a little square that has been marked. And then when we get finished, we're going to chain stitch them. I am pinning every one. You can pin them or not. If you're not a pinner, then you don't need to pin them. And then when we're done sewing all of these, we will come back, we'll take this piece, and we'll do just the opposite. So you can either do it the opposite way, or you can turn it around if you feel more comfortable doing it this way. But the lines need to go together. They need to meet each other, either at the top or the bottom. So let me get the machine set up. There's all of mine pinned. Now I'm using white thread in my bobbin, and my thread is white. And I'm using a 12-inch needle, and I went ahead and cleaned out my sewing machine underneath the plate here because it was really filthy from all the projects I've been doing. And this is just your regular standard stitch, 2.5. And you're just going to take one after the other. You should not need a leader ender because you're coming off of the edge of the fabric. You're not going down in the middle. But if you feel like you need it, then by all means get yourself one. And I'm trying to stitch on the very right hand side of my line. Now I want to take this off and I want to measure it to make sure it is correct before I go any further. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my ends off. I'm going to take one end off. So here it is. Let's see if I can show it up here. And that unit, I just did one now. It should measure 1 3/4, which is the top to the bottom, which it still does. And your main thing is that across here, it measures 4 1/2. Now, if you're off a little bit, it's okay because they'll all be off. And it's going to be your quilt anyway. So I just want to make a practice to make sure that I am doing it correctly. And now I'll start chain stitching all of them. My fingers do not get in the way. And as I grab them, I will just unpin them, adjust them, and then just sew them. And then you continue doing this until they're all done, and then we'll start on the other side. Now that they're all finished, you want to cut them all apart, and then what we want to do is we want to start, put your diagonal in the corner and come up to the top, and then sew them down that direction. If you want to sew them this way because you're used to it, then you're going to need to put a leader ender up here because this will probably try to go down into your sewing machine, and that will be frustrating for every one of these little pieces. If you want to take the time, since you're not used to it, and learn how to do this, now would be a great time because there's enough pieces here that by the time you're finished, you'll have learned how to do this. It'll just be something else you've learned today. Let's go ahead and get started on these. This is probably going to make you feel a little backwards, but that's okay because I'm sewing on the side of the line, not the line. So I'm on the left side of my line. And I'm not used to sewing this way. I'm used to sewing everything the other direction. So it just takes time. And like I said, you learn something. If you haven't done it this way, I hope my hands are not in the way. But since it is so small, I want to keep my line as straight as I can. Nothing like having a wonky little square end off here. And so far it seems to be okay. I don't need a leader ender. Oops. Just take your time and finish them all up. If you find out that you have attached them wrong, take your time, take them out, redo them if you need to. We're not in a hurry to get this done. This is only one block. We do not have to repeat this block. Get them all done and I'll be back. Alright, now that we have them all finished, the sewing part, now what we have to do is we have to cut them. So take your ruler, and I put my ruler on the line, and in my case, because my line was drawn in pink, I can actually see it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to see that white thread. It would be kind of hard. And then I'm just taking off the excess on every single one before I iron it. And on this ruler, which is the Creative Grids, which is my favorite ruler, it has the 1/4 inch already marked right here, the little gray part. That's the 1/4 inch. And then all we do is do every single one of them. And you kind of do a semi-line of this too. Might as well get all these cut off. There you go. And then you just trash all these little bitty bits. You're going to take it over to the ironing board and open it up, and there you go. They'll all look like that. Let's get that done. Now, this is the way that I iron them. So first I will relax my iron, and as you note, my little spots fell off, or the coloring fell off. And then you can either go this way, and then usually after I've done both sides, I just put my iron on top of it, and then I'm going to lay it underneath the book to keep it flat, because it has a tendency to want to come up like that. And all I do is do every single one. Flip it up, iron it. Whoops, let me press my seams first. Iron it. Set it aside. Relax the seams. Iron it open. And yes, this spot will get hot on that ironing board. Now, I'm going to take them, I'm going to lay them out here. And this spot's already gotten hot. Kind of do it in a chain fashion so that I can just go over them all, relax their seams, and just start with one. And then if you take them and you put them on top of each other, you can do that there. That helps them. But like I said, I'll put them underneath the book because that flattens them out. Because I don't care how hot your iron is, boy, these little things like to flip up. They do not like to stay down. I think it's because there's not enough fabric. I just try to go over on top of each other. Them aside, and just continue until you've got them all done. That's all you got to do. And after your first practice and you've sewn them all the same, they should all equal the same size. You shouldn't have to go and size every single one of these. And then we're done ironing those. We'll go on to our next step. Now it's saying to take our C, which were the wider blocks, and we're going to put them between the ones we just made. So of course I don't have any of them in order, so let me get these two right here. And make sure that your direction is going correct. So we want the white up at the top and the bottom facing the block, and we want the next white doing the same thing. So we want the whites to go in. This way you'll keep that straight in your mind. And then all you're going to do is you're going to, in my case, I'm going to pin it and sew it, and I'll chain stitch it, so I'll pin all of these first. Now the way that I'm pinning it is I'm making sure that I pin this piece where I have turned the fabric over. And the reason being is so that it doesn't, in this case, on this one right here, it does not flip over as I sew it. And I make sure that the ends match. And then in this case, because I want to keep it straight, I'm going to put a pin on this end. This is keeping the fabric straight so it doesn't get distorted as I pin it. And I'm only going to pin it in these two places. I'm not going to pin it at the top. And that should be enough to get me through. And I'm going to do every one of them like that, exactly like that. Here's something that I just encountered, so I want to include you on it. So I took the next one and I put my fabric up against it. And let me show you what it looks like. So the white goes up against the edge. And when I put it up here, first thing I did, I went down there and I went, oh my gosh, the strip is too long. So then I took my ruler and I remeasured it. So you know this is supposed to be 4.5. So I go down here and I went, oh my gosh, I cut it 4 3/4. So now I need to back it up to 4.5 and cut this little bit off. And maybe that's happened to you. And if it has, that's how you fix it. That's all there was to it. And now I can put my piece on there. Just like that. Alrighty, so we're going to do the very first one. And I'm going to do this side and then the other side because I want to make sure that it comes out correct before I do anything with all the rest of them. So we're going to do that first. And we are sewing this by 1/4 inch. I'm on the other side of this one. And if you need to be drawing your 1/4 inch line because you don't know how to do it with your machine, with your foot, then by all means go ahead. Or you can put yourself a guide on this side of your plate with washi tape. Or now we're going to make sure that this is the correct size, because we want our blocks to be correct, and we want to make sure one of them is to start out with, otherwise we're totally off. So it is saying that we need this block to be 4.5 by 4.5. Let me check and see. So this is going to need to be 4.5 by 4.5. So this whole ruler is 4.5. So that worked. And of course I'll have it ironed. And that worked. So this does end up being a 4.5 by 4.5. And that's what you're looking for. That's what you're striving for. So it looks like this. And does it say which way to... It does not say how to iron it. So I'm going to guess that I would be ironing towards the middle piece because of the bulkiness of this. So that's how I'm going to iron them all. So let me go ahead and we're going to get started on these others. I've got them all laid out here on my machine. Like that. And I'm just going to chain stitch them. Now you're just going to take your time. You're going to sew one at a time. We're going to do all the sides first. Then we'll flip it around and we'll pin it to the other side, and we'll do that one next. These little squares are really adorable. And if you've got a favorite color, they would really look good in your favorite color, I can tell you right now. I've never made this kind of block before anyway. And I have not put together the 2019, which I will be doing. As you notice, I am trying to catch up and get all of my projects finished up. I am getting my business license. I say license meaning more than one, because in this state you got to have a couple of them. Getting all that taken care of. Going to update my website to e-commerce, I do believe, because I'm going to be selling some of these things I've made. Of course, the first few things that I will sell will be small, and when I say small, I'm talking bow cozy, that type of thing, for those that would like to purchase one. I know a lot of people don't have time to make anything, but they would like to buy things. Maybe you want to buy them for family. You don't want to make them. Maybe you don't know how to make them. You don't have time to learn yet. You're just watching videos, trying to get an idea of what you want to do. I don't know yet if I'm going to let you pick and choose which one you want. I may just put a variety of different colors. I don't really know how to set it up yet. I'm still learning. I've been studying a couple of videos for my specific website to see how to create it and cross it over from just your basic website to a e-commerce. I've got a lot of ideas already just by watching the few videos that I've watched. I'm kind of excited about it. It's just a new adventure. my granddaughter, the other day we were in the car and I was telling her about this, and because I had some appointments to take care of, and she goes, well, what are you doing? I don't know why you're doing all this. And I said, well, because I want to start my business. She goes, oh my gosh, do you know what you're turning into? And I'm going to tell you, for the life of me, I don't know what she was going to say. And I said, no, what? And she goes, an entrepreneur. I just busted up laughing. It's like, that's not what I thought she was going to say. I had no idea. But that was funny. All right, down to the last one here. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to pin the other sides to all of these. So now I have all the other sides pinned. So it's a matter of just sewing it. Take your time. Always take your time. Enjoy it. Don't make it stressful. You're not sewing to get stressed. If you get stressed, you got to stop and take a minute. Take a breather. Get away from it. Just continue until you have all of yours finished. I guess I should have put a pin on the end, but I didn't really want to start with a pin there. There we go. And then when I get done with them, I'll come back. I'll show you how I'm going to iron them. So you guys can iron yours also. And then we're going to put it together and make our first block. Here at the ironing board, and now I'm going to relax my seams, and I just do one and the other, and then lay the part that has the white on it down, have the other part up, and when you push your iron on it, it automatically makes it go, the fold, towards the inside, and that's what I want. I want it towards the inside where there's less bulk, and that's it. That is nice and flat. Very nice. And do all of yours just like that. Now we've reached the assembling of the block. So we're going to take this one and an orange one. And I think it is this one with the stripes. It's going to go that way. Our green one this way. I believe this one here. The flowered one like that. Whoops, what did I do? Oh, here's my white one. Whoops, sorry for reaching over, y'all. Here's the white one, goes in the middle. Blue one going this way. And this is the way it should look, unless you want to change the colors. So take a look at it, decide if that's the way you want it or not, because you know you can change your colors. Alrighty, so I'm going to do them in rows, so I'm going to pin these. I'll pin these two here. Then what I'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll do these and chain stitching. So I'll pin these, then I'll open them up, and then I'll pin them to these. I'll open them up, and then we'll do each row itself. So let's pin them first. Alrighty, so we're going to pin it together. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to nestle, because you want to make sure that this is correct on each corner. Also, you don't want this to be flipping up right there. Go to the other corner, nestle that one. That's what you're looking for. And then you want to make sure that this one doesn't flip up on you right here, because the sewing machine foot is going to go over the top of this, and that will try to flip. This one won't necessarily flip on you, so that one's fine. And then we'll pin the rest of them. Now, as I was putting my sets together, I went ahead and I I want to say I squared them up, but it's not really squaring them up. This is what I did. So this ruler, this one here, is 1.5 inches. Now, looking at this, let me see if I can get you a little closer. Okay, to make sure, because I have a little edge right here, that it's the correct size, I put my ruler up against it and then trimmed it. I went to the other side, put my ruler up here. Now this is on every single one, and they have been ironed, so there's that little bit. I went up here, and I have a little piece right here, so I went end to end to see if it needed to be trimmed. And I went ahead and did this one too, because for some reason I ended up with a lot of excess there. Then I just put it on this mat here, made sure it was 4.5, and this is actually a little bit bigger, but that's fine because you know you can feed that in if it's a little bit bigger, and that looks good. So that one was fine. So now let's do the next one so I can show you again. So all I'm doing is putting this up against, I'm butting it up against the seam right there. It actually stops when you do that. Just button it up against the seam, taking off that excess, and making sure that this goes from end to end with nothing extra on it. Take off the extras. Then line it up, 4.5, 4.5. So that one's done. Get the last one over here. And it's only taking off a little bit, but it is straightening it up. Because I got like a little bit of overhang on that. Right there. I just want them to be able to pin them easier. Okay, and that one goes that way. And so you end up with just this little bit of stuff here. You pull it. See it right there? That's all. Just little bitty scragglies. That's what I call them. Now we're going to go ahead and we're just going to sew these. And it's hanging up a little bit on the beginning there. There we go. Because it's got such a big bump. And I lined up all my corners. See, that one's bothered by the pin there, so help it along a little bit there. Whoops. Oh, I know it's not too high. Let's take this off here. See what my problem is. We're going to move it up off of that bump. I'll come back to it here in a minute. Sometimes that happens where you cannot start on the edge. And we'll go back to it. And I'm going to go the opposite direction. So I'll flip it upside down. Oh, it looks like I had a whole bunch. A bunch of thread bunched up. That was my problem. Let's get that cut off of there. Okay. I guess it knotted somehow. I'm not sure. But I'll go right down here to where I was already sewing. And since it's a 1/4 inch, it's going to be a 1/4 inch whether you're on the wrong side or the right side of the fabric. And then just continue off like that. I'll take a look at it, make sure it got. Yes, it got. There you go. And then the last one. And hopefully this one won't do that. We shall see here in a minute if it... Okay. There we go. didn't feel like that bump was thick, but apparently the fabric did, and the needle. There we go. Now, you don't need to iron them open. We're just going to go ahead and attach the other ones to it. This is the way that it should look. These are all sewn. So now you're going to just attach these. So just take them and attach them just like we did before. You want to match your corner first. Alrighty, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to attach these last pieces. Now is when we're going to iron them because they are completely sewn together. We just need to iron them so that we can match up our rows. So let's do that. Now when we iron this, we do it the same way. You're just think of it, instead of a long line here, you're going to go ahead and relax your seam. Just like you did if this was pieces you were putting together. Then I'm going to make sure that they go to the center. Actually, let me see on this one. Yes, we're going to go out. So we're going to go towards the outer fabric, not the center. So in order for it to go outward, that's the piece you want it to, whatever piece you want your fabric to be folded over to, that's the piece you hold up. Because when you come down on the iron, then it locks it in like that. And that's what I'm trying to do, is get it to go on this one. And I go over it real light to begin with, because you don't want the seams on this that have already gone down. Here, you don't want them turned over on you. That's the reason for going really soft over the top, and then you can go heavy on your iron. And it's going to be based on the block. So I think this was my second block. Let me look. My bottom one and my top one. So based on the bottom one, because they're going out, you want these to go in. So first, we do the seams, and we want it to go in. So remember, whatever direction you want to go, that's the one you're going to pick up. I'm going to go this way so it can go in. And then when it comes time to put these together, they're going to nestle. And I'm going to show you here on the ironing board. Okay. This is my third, my second row, and my first row. So when you flip it over, this goes out, this goes in, this goes out. Because when you pin them like this. Just exactly like that. And you're going to want to do all the nestling and everything. All right, have them lined up in their rows, 1, 2, and 3. This is where you're going to make sure that you've sewn them correctly. So this is going up, sideways, blank, sideways, up, sideways, up. So the outer corners are going up and the others are going sideways like that. Now we're going to pin it, and the first thing you do is we're going to nestle it. So you take these two pieces, and if you iron them correctly, you're going to end up like this. And that's what it'll look like. And you're going to pin it here. And this will be a large bump. Now, if you want to split your fabric in half, you can. And you can iron it that way. I'm going to leave it like this. And then go to each end. And remember now, you're going to nestle the ends down here at the corner. You want them to match correctly. Just do that and you can see that it's matching. Put a pin in it. Go to the other end. Same thing. You're going to nestle this. just like that. You need to pull it over a little, pull it over. There we go. Looks like it's matching up correctly. Put a pin in it because you don't want it going anywhere. And now you can pin between here. Put as many pins as you think you need. I try to mark them on each corner and in the middle, like here. I feel like I need one at least in the middle. If you feel like you need more than that, you can have more than that. This is your project. Nobody's judging you. If you have to open every one of these seams, then open every one of these seams. Whatever it takes you to do this. And if you're just learning and you've been doing open seams and you don't really want to do all open seams, then just do a couple of them shut. You can do like this, open that one, open those. So it's up to you. You know, if you're just learning, you don't have to change everything at one time. You can change it as you go along. Just do one way, and then the next time go back to your regular way and then see what it looks like. And if you like it, then go ahead and the next time do 2 or 3 different until you get used to it and whatever you feel comfortable with. So let's go ahead and sew this. Probably thinking, oh my gosh, all that trouble she had before is never going to go through. Well, we're not going to know if we don't try it. It seems to have went okay that time. I gotta say, this fabric that the Fat Quarter Shop gave for this is some of the softest fabric. Oh my gosh, it feels like the fabric, like an old t-shirt where you have washed it umpteen times, and it is so soft. You can't wait to get that on because it feels so good against your body. I don't know how they make the fabric feel like that, really. Especially when it has not even been washed. Got to give it a little help, or just do it this way here. I don't want to run over any of my pins. Managed to jump that pin. This one in because there we go. I don't want to get off my mark there. Let's take a look at it here. Oh yeah, looks nice. I'm at all the points. Well, that's cute. That was almost a pinwheel. It has 2 little points. 2 little points here. There and there, and I mean 3 actually. 1, 2, 3, and it would have been 4 right there. Can you see where that would have been a little pinwheel? Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to pin the bottom section to this section. It's block 1, and now we're going to start on the next block. Now for the next block. They want us to take one of the A's, which is the background, and one of our fabrics, and you're going to put right sides together. You're going to take your piece of paper. You're going to face it up so that you can see where you need to sew. The arrows tell you where to sew, so you're going to be sewing down this line. The cutting line is the solid line. The dotted line is the sewing line. And they've given us plenty of fabric to do this. I'm just putting pins in it. I have no clue where to be putting the pins. I might end up taking them out. All right, so you either start at this end and go down. In my case, I'm going to go down here, come off the fabric, go up, come down, and go up. I have every one of them pinned. I'm going to start up here at the top. And you do it right on the line. And I believe it said to decrease our stitch. And and it says go down to 1.5. Well, I don't have a 1.5, but I got a 1.4. Good enough. I got 1.4 and 1.6. So let's just see here. And on these first few pieces of paper that came out of here, I'm just letting you know, it's like, if, in case you can see this line right here, that actually was like a piece of glue that was holding the paper together. So I kind of like rubbed it off. It left its indentation, but that's fine. All right, so I'm going to come on over here. I came right off the paper on the fabric. I'm just traveling over to this next section. Ouch. That's all I'm doing. Because I'm going to, whoops, I need to come over one more time. Because I'm just going to go right down this line right here. Oh, we've got to go over again. Yeah, let's see if that's right. Okay, there we go. Just come down this line right here. Whoops, as I'm stuck. Whoop. I don't know what I'm stuck on. Oh, is it the paper? Let's see here. Okay, so it doesn't want to move. Let me take it off. And find out. Oh, I got a jumble mess, but I don't see anything else that would have caused that. I don't see anything in my bobbin. I don't know why it did that. I'm not quite sure why it did that. Let's see if I can continue from here. If I've got to start over. Let's see here. No, it's something in that area. I'm not quite sure what it is now. It definitely is sticking to my sole plate here. I don't know what's going on. My fabric didn't have anything underneath it. At least I don't think it did. No, there's nothing on my fabric. I don't know why it won't go through there. But now it's made a jumble mess, so I have to get rid of that. I wonder if, I'm seeing a big old glob right there. I wonder if my thread, boy, it's harder than heck to see too because it's all white. I wonder if my thread created a, I'm going to look at here, a knot. That's what it looks like. It created some kind of knot in there. Well, I don't feel it with my finger now. That doesn't mean there's not a knot somewhere else in it. I'm afraid my paper's going to be ripping here in a minute. Let's see if we can do it again. I'm beginning to think maybe I need to change paper. I do not know. Let's see. I'm kind of like forcing it through here. I'm going to go up in my stitch length to 1.6. Maybe that 1.4 is too small for this paper. I really don't know. Let me take that out. That is really weird that it got hung up like that. Never had to do that before. Now this says to go ahead and go across the line, so we're going to go all the way across the line. There we go. Now I'm pretty sure there's a rhyme or reason, but apparently I don't have the rhyme or the reason. Because I don't think you're supposed to get off the paper. Okay, let's do this. I'll try it with the next one. Okay, I really do not know what the problem was with that paper. But now keep in mind that if you're doing this, you want to make sure that your white fabric, if you've got tone on tone or white on white, where you've got a picture or something, make sure that it's facing towards these two, fabric, so it's right sides together. This is just a plain white and it doesn't have one side or the other. All right, let's start on this end. Down to the end, and one more pivot. Now go down this line here. Gosh, I'm like way off the line here. I gotta do some line practicing. Okay, take out my pins. And then I think I need to come down this side and pivot. So let's do that. Right to the end. Let's see if I can. Oh, I got to back up one. Okay. Then when you cut it off, that's that. And all you're doing, you can check to just make sure that you went down your down your dash lines. If you've done that, then you've done it all. The good thing about the paper piecing here, it should make these half square triangles perfect. I think I've really pinned mine way too many times, but that's okay. I can do less. Let's see if I can get that lined up. Did I oversheet it? There we go. Now that I've got that one piece of sewing on there, I really don't need these other pins. Okay, this line. This block's not going to take as long, I don't think. I could be wrong. Depends on how long it takes you to cut your half square triangles. But making them definitely is not going to take as long. Okay, so somehow I did this wrong because now I'm going down the same direction. Oh well, let's just go down it. This one here. Okay, so now let's cut them all apart. We're going to go straight down the middle for starters. Then I'm going to go catty corner. Let's see if my ruler's big enough. Well, my ruler's not big enough. Always make sure your ruler goes off both ends of your fabric, even when you're cutting. Now this should help you if you've got problems when you sew, when you go down the bias, which is this direction right here is the bias, and it stretches on you. This will help that, and it won't stretch on you because you've got your paper stabilizing it. And the directions say we will not use one of these. So we're only using 3 at this time. We'll probably use it at another time. So I'm going to use those 3. I'm going to use those 3. I'm just going to park these. I'm not even going to take the paper off the one I'm not going to use. No reason to take it off. I do feel like this paper does make it easier to make the half square triangles. I believe that Kimberly from the Fat Quarter Shop bought out the company that she was buying from. I think they were selling. So she's got these triangles now. She sells them. Now we're going to take the paper off, and then after we take the paper off, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make sure that doesn't fall off there. Open it up, assemble it, and then we have these 4 little squares here. And I'm going to use this 5.5-inch ruler to square them up into the half square triangles. Now, it shouldn't be hard to take this paper off because the stitching is so small. I say it shouldn't be. Just rip it off like that. Make sure I'm in the camera here. It should come off fairly easy. Shouldn't be taking any of your stitches either. There you go. And then we'll just take it over to the iron. We'll press our seams to relax, then we'll open them up. And I'm going to press towards the colored fabric side. Now the way that I tear my paper is I start here, rip it down, because then you can rip this instead of going to the very tip up here and ripping it. It's so much easier to do it that way, and then you can pull off any kind of scragglies. That I find is the easiest way to do it. I'll show you again. You just take it here, like in the middle. You don't have to have it at the end. That to me is the easiest way, because if you pick at the corner, like I did on that very first one, then it'll break off and everything else on you. So that's what I'm doing. And I'll have them all ripped off here in a second. Alrighty, so we're at the ironing board, and all I did was relax the fabric. And I want it to go towards the green side. So I'm just laying it on there. Open it up. And then we'll square them up, because you've note this one's smaller than that one because of the way it was on the paper. So let me iron all these up and then we'll get them squared. Now for that lesson in squaring up your half square triangle. These need to be 3.5 inches. So the first thing that I do is take this line, and it's going down this line right here on your fabric where it's been sewn together. And since it needs to be 3.5, my 3.5 is up here, right there. So I take the least amount off that I can to start out with. And I use this rotating mat. My goodness, I can't talk today. Then I pick up. I go down to the 3.5 mark, which is right there, keeping this on the line. And then I take off the next 2 sides, that side and this side. And there's my 3.5. I set it aside and go to the next one. And that's all you got to do. If you a block lock and you want to use it, you can. I'll get mine and demonstrate with that for you. Although this is 6.5, it still will work. I take my block, and this little piece here has an indentation. which you can see right there. And it goes on top of your square and it locks in. And then what you're doing is you're going to look for the 3.5 mark. And now keep in mind, this block was bigger than the last block I did, so don't think that it's, it may be distorted to you based on that last block I did. But the 3.5 mark is down here. Well, I want to cut some off, so I go up here. And just like before, I cut it off on the right side and the top. Then I'm going to need to get it lined up again. Let's see if I can do it this way. So here's my 3.5. And let me see my bottom. Let's go. Okay. Actually, my 3.5 would be right there, but my 3.5 is not down here. It's like I didn't cut enough off. Let's see if I can do this or not. There's my 3.5, and I have to go down. Nope, that's not going to work. Because I have to go down to here. I had to switch my ruler around, which let me show you my ruler. I had it backwards. This is 1 through 6, and this is 1 through, but also, and this is the side I had to flip it to get the 3.5. Here's my 3.5 down here. Let me see if I'm in the camera here. Here's my 3.5 down here. I had my ruler upside down, and here's my 3.5 corner, and there it is up that line. So to get that 3.5, now I can cut this top half off. Right here, and then it's 3.5. So you got to use both sides of this ruler here, but either way you want to do it, with the regular or the lock block. I prefer the regular ruler just because I have used it forever. I'll make sure I'm in here. Go down to 3.5. I keep mine right on the line. There you go. And then just do them all like that. Every set of colors. And then when you're done, we'll come back here and we'll start building this block. That's the way it should look. So think of it this way. We have a yellow, orange, black, green. This is peaks coming out this way, out that way, out that way, and out that way. And then every one of these is going towards the square. And if you've got that set, you have it correct. Now let's go ahead and sew it row by row, and we're going to pin it first. So I'm going to pin these two together first. Now these two do not need to be matched in the way of the corners. But I will pin it in two places. And don't forget, right sides together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that one, then this one, because this way we can chain stitch them. They'll be a lot faster. Then when you get done pinning those right here, then you're going to pin these. And then we'll have all of these pinned and ready to go. And then we'll just have to pin them all together and sew them. So let's pin all of these so we can sew them. So do that first. Alrighty, so I've got them all pinned, and now we're going to chain stitch them. I'll get you started. I'm not having to match anything up yet. So this ought to be the easy part. Grab your next one. If you need to use a leader ender, by all means use a leader ender. This is the last one of the very first set. Grab your next set. What you should have. I've sewn this and this together. Now we're going to fold them over and sew each one of these two pairs together. So we're going to pin them and sew them. There they are before they're sewn, and I want to show you that on the two middle ones, I've got the first one here, so on the second and third row there's nothing matching, but on the first and the third there is, because you're going to need to line this up. So one of them is going to have to go one way and one's going to have to go the other way. Whoops, wrong direction here. So just finger press whichever way you want it to go. And then pin it like that. And do the same thing with the last row before we sew it. Alright, here we go. Let's get it started here. Take my pin out. Now, if you had wanted to, you could have ironed these before you sewed them. That's fine. You can iron at any time during your projects that you want to. There's no set time limit on ironing. If you feel like you need it a little stiffer when you sew it, then by all means, go ahead and iron it. It'll get stiffer on you. And if you starch, you can do that too. You can starch in between here as you're going along. If you started out with starch before you even did any of your cutting, you can go ahead and continue to starch. It's not going to hurt your fabric any. You can starch it till it's stiff as a board. Go ahead and cut all these apart. Then we're going to lay them open over here. And then we're going to pin the next rows. But let me show them to you before we iron them. Here's the way they should look, just like that. Now I'm going to iron them so that I can nestle them. So let's go to the ironing board and we'll see how to do that. Start with our bottom row. First thing you're going to do, set your seams just like this. And then we're going to flip it upside down. and decide whether we want to go to the right or the left. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to make this go to the left while I have it on the back side so I can see it. Now this one's flipped over, so we're just going to be partial to the left. I'm going to flip it over. So when you look at it, they all went to the left. Now we're going to take the next row above that and do the same thing. Relax the seams here. And now we want this one to go to the right. So the first thing I do is flip it over and then iron the same exact way that I was ironing. Hopefully I can get that done. It's a pretty thick seam right there. There we go. And then what you want to do is you look at it, it's going to the right, and this one's going to the left. The next one needs to go the same as this row. So first we're going to set the seam. If you can't remember, flip this over to you. It's going that way. Flip this over to you. It's going that direction. Flip it back over, and you're going to press it again. And now the top row, I'm going to set our seam. Make sure you're seeing all this. Yep. Okay. So it has to be the same as the third row down. So in case you've forgotten, lift it up, take a look at it. It has to go to the left. All right. And since I don't iron to the left, since I don't iron to the right, and that's the way these need to go, all I do is just turn it around like this. Now it's upside down, and so then when you iron it, it can go this way. If you iron the other direction, that's fine. It's going to be easy for you, but it won't be for me, so. And note, let me see if you can see this one here. This has got a weird shape because it's folded to the right here, but it had to be to the left to go on top of that. So now we're going to flip it back over, and our yellow's at the bottom left corner. And we're going to re-iron it. Now before you leave the ironing board, make sure it's correct. To make sure that it's correct, without flipping them all over, flip the first one over, look at it, and yes, it nestles. That's what you want. Flip the next one over. Yes, it nestles. Take this one off, because we're going to match the middle two now. And do they nestle? Yes. So they are all ironed correctly. So now I'm going to group them like this, and we're going to pin these together, and then when we're done sewing these, we'll do the 2 and 2 together. So let's go do that and nestle these together. So start with the first one here. Now, you're looking at this here because you don't want to chop the point off. If you have sewn these 1/4 inch, it's going to be fine. Let's say that you didn't. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find where that tip is right there, and this tip right here, and you're going to put your pin in there. If I can get my pin to go. Okay. I'm going to need to straddle my camera. Hold on one second to make it easier. Here's your pin. You've put it in your fabric. It's right there. It's sticking straight out. And now you're going to pin this fabric, because what you're trying to do is make sure you don't lose your point. It's okay that this is off. Don't worry about the distance between here and here. This right here, don't worry about that. That's not what you're looking at. You're looking at this right here for your point. You're going to put a pin in here. And you're going to go on the other side. And you're going to put a pin in here. And then you can pull this pin out. Now the points, when your sewing machine goes over there, it should make, and you can actually see, let me see if I can get a marker here. Pink one should do. This is where the pin was at, right here. Here's my pin. It was right there. So I want to keep my sewing line at that pin or above it. I mean, you're not going to see this. This is the inside. As long as you're sewing on that or closer to the edge up here, you will not chop your point off. And that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to chop your point off. Okay? The tip, the nose, whatever you want to call it. And that's what you need to do. Now this one, you don't need to do it. You're just pinning this one. And I'm pinning the left-hand side to make sure that when the sewing machine goes over that area right there, then it won't get flipped. And then I'll put one here in the middle. I'll go down here. Same thing here. We're going to need to put a pin in here. Okay, hold on one second. All right, so what we're looking for is this spot right here. You're going to put your pin through it. And when you look on the other side, let me flip it over here so you can see it. That's the tip of where your two pieces came together. This is your 1/4 inch right here. That's on the front piece of fabric. And now on the back piece of the fabric, if I can get it up here, it keeps falling. We're looking at this corner right here. Try not to stick myself as I pin it. Push it in and grab it right here. And it's nestling because remember, we've already ironed it. So you hold your pin straight, take another pin, and mark it. It's like I can't look in the camera and look at my hands at the same time. And I can't stand up because I've been standing up for so long, my back is killing me. So let's do this. Now we can pull this out. I can see where I poked that in. And you can see where this crossed over here. See where it made an X right there? That's what you're looking at. What do I do with my pen? It's over here. Okay, you can see that line right there. If I had a flat table to have a ruler, but anyway, you want to keep on that line or above it up here when you go over it to keep your tip from falling off. And there's nothing to match on this corner. This is just a regular corner here. So you're just going to pin it. Just like that. And pin this in down here. It doesn't have anything either. And then put any extra pins that you feel like you need to be putting on here. Go ahead and put them along here to hold on to your fabric for you. Otherwise it's like that. I'm trying to back it up and get it in the camera. And that's what we're going to do the other end too. Or the other fabric, excuse me, not the other end. So we look for the intersection, which is right up here. You put your pin on it. You put your pin through your fabric. Now this is just the top sheet. Take a look at it. See that it came through. And now what we're doing is we're trying to find the next piece, which is right here in this corner. And push it through. Flip it over and we'll take a look at it. Let me see if I can see that right there where it came out, that pin. We can probably go a little higher on it. When I say higher, I mean, let me pull this out a minute. I'm sticking myself. Go a little higher up in here. Let me take a look at it. Yes, so that it is sticking up higher on this side. Back up to get it focused. Okay. Oops. So now you take it and you try to keep your pin as straight as you can out the other side. See, it's straight out there so that you can pin this, because you don't want it leaning to the downward or upward, because then this will be distorted. So grab it and pin it. I'm going to pin it on both sides. And then I take this one out. Actually, that bent. Hold on one second. I feel like my pin went downward instead of upward while I was pinning it. So I'm holding it with my other finger like this to keep it straight, to keep it from falling downward. Because if it falls down, then this gets distorted. It'll have a wave in it. So let's go that route. And like I said, don't worry that you got fabric sticking up here. See the way I do? That just means my 1/4 inch is off a little bit when I compare the two, when I'm connecting these two. And it's more important that I connect these two than to have my fabric be on top of each other perfectly straight. And then go ahead and do these. And then we'll repeat the same thing with this. And boy, it looks like I really chopped off my corner here. Oh my gosh, there's hardly anything. Let's see. Oh my gosh, how did I do that? Okay, let's see. I can go down a little bit more. This is a disadvantage when you have to flip your fabric. Now that'll work. Ouch. And then find it here, which is going to be up here. Oh, all these pins on my left-hand side are stabbing at me here. Okay, and then that actually had to go to the left, didn't it? Which means I need to repin this, because that's not going to work. So, let's take this out, because that had to be to the left as I stuck it. This is a very blurry picture for me. It's too close to my face. There we go. Ouch. There we go, right into my finger. There. Now I think it's, let me double check. There we go. Now we're on the side so that that can be like that. Now I can put my hand between the two pins there. And pin this. Come over here. I still have that pin positioned correctly, and pin over here, pull it out, go down to the very end here, which does not need to be matched up, it just needs to be meeting at the corner, and then pin it like that. And then I go ahead and I'll put a pin here, which is between the two, go down here, do the same thing, put a pin about right here. You know, I never thought how hard it was to see something blurry, but I feel sorry for the people that see it blurry. Now that I can't see it close, it's just too close to my face. There we go. And now it's got a pin all along the entire thing. And hopefully I will not chop any of my points off. Let's go over here to the machine and find out. And now we're going to stay above that red line. The best that we can now. Doesn't have to be perfect. Hope I went over my... And we're going to take a look at this before we move on to the next one. All right, let's take a look. I would say that it is good enough for me. So let me show you what it looks like. Back you up a bit. There you go. There's what it looks like. Now we did not mark these, so let's go ahead and mark them. Here is the spot that they come over, which is the little spot that I had my pin in. I can actually still see it, so I'm going to mark it. Go down to this one, and this one I cannot see the marks. So let me take a look here. What I'm going to do, get my ruler here, and I'm going to mark where that spot is further out on the white. And the reason being that when I mark this, it would be right here. That's where my mark is. So this is where I'm going to make sure I'm across to avoid losing the tip. Let's get that work, shall we? Take out this one. Now remember, you can always go closer, and also, if you're unsure, you can make your stitch bigger. Oops, speaking of making my stitch bigger, oh, I forgot to do it after the paper piecing, but that's okay. Anyway, as I was saying, you can make your stitch bigger for when you go over the pieces that you marked, like that spot right there. And then if you've got to go over it again, in other words, you've got to go closer or to the left of the line instead of towards the outer side of the fabric here. So let's say it was right here. I'll show you. Let me get up to this other one that's got a mark, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You know, a picture's worth 1,000 words, so let me get up here to the picture. So now, if you're unsure right here where this spot is, what you do is you take your length and you make it longer. This way it's easier to take it out. Let's say that you go along this, on the right-hand side of this line, you take a look at it when it's done, and you realize you could have went further over here to the left, okay, which is further towards this. In that case, you leave it in, don't take it out. Repeat sewing it, start about here in the middle of the block, come along and slowly go to the left, which is this direction here. And then after you get done sewing, keep on going, stop, take it out, take a look at it. If you like it, then you can do one or two things. Either leave those large stitches in, or if you feel like you need more seam allowance when you open it or turn it, then go ahead and take out the bigger stitches. If for some reason you took too much and took the tips off and you've got to come to the right, then go ahead and re-sew it with the large stitches on the right-hand side, which is closer to the edge here. Then if it turns out correct, then you can take the stitches out on this side and leave the stitches on this side and go over it again with a 2.5. Because I would go up to like probably a 5 for my stitch length if I'm trying it out to see if it's going to work or not. Because it's easier to take out a larger stitch than it is a smaller stitch. And I'm just helping this along over the bump with my hand here. Go. I'm going to take a look at it. And here's that corner. They're all good. All right, now notice I have not ironed it yet. So now we're going to connect this strip to this strip. And the only thing that we're matching for about the tips are right here. We're matching the right with the left. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to push down on here. You can iron this if you want. But I'm going to have the green go to the left since the orange goes to the right. I'm going to match them up here the best that I can. And then I'm going to put a pin on it. Right here to hold it down. And then go to this end. And they're already going to nestle for me. So pin that. Don't need to do any marking whatsoever. Go back, pin this one. Go to the next one. Pin this one here. Go down to the corner, to the second from the end. Gonna nestle that one. Trying not to let all these pins stick me on the left over here. And put one in the middle there. Go to the end. Nestle this one here. Put a pin in it to keep that from flipping over as I come across it with the sewing machine. And then one right here. And then we'll have our block totally sewn. So let's just go ahead and sew that. We can iron it. Take a look at it. Here's the block before it's ironed. Let's give it a nice press. There we go. They're on the design wall. The first and the second block. I'm trying to get it the best I can here at an angle. I hope you liked this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.